Okay, some of my students came back today with their homework assignment saying they had some struggles with a few of the problems, and since they struggled with those problems, I'm going to demonstrate how they could solve them. Now, some of the students, they didn't acknowledge these were items that caused some difficulties, so it'll be interesting to see if their answers are the same as the ones I get. Let's look at the directions for number 10. Okay, number 10 is right here, and the directions for 10 accompany it, and 9. And I know you're not going to be able to see everything, but just listen up, please. It says, use the properties of addition to write the numeric expression a different way. Simplify both expressions to show that they have identical results. Okay, number 10, I'm going to focus on this one. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what math practice would help me solve this, and then I'm going to go ahead and solve it. So the math practice I'm going to use here is, I'm going to use number 3, using what I know about the associative property of addition. I'm going to solve or evaluate the expression, and then I'm going to evaluate exactly the way it's written using the order of operations. Now, the associative property of addition, it tells us that it doesn't really matter how you group the add-ins. Like here, they've gone grouped that you would add those two first because of the parentheses. But I don't have to do that. Because of the associative property of addition, no matter what arrangement I have, what grouping I have, I can always get the same sum regardless. I'm going to get the same sum. And in this case, I'm going to group together my mixed numbers with fractions, and I'm going to group together my decimals. And I'll show you how that works out very nicely, very neatly. Okay, so let me go ahead and put a little slip of little post-it note here. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this, and I want to find the sum of 3 and 5/9 and 12 and 4/9. I'm going to add that sum with it to the sum of 7 and 45/100 and 13 and 55/100. So now I'll explain why I chose to group these values the way I did. It's going to be very difficult to take fractions and add them with a decimal without doing some kind of regrouping, like coming up with equivalent fractions or equivalent decimals. And when you look at these decimals here, like here I got 5/9 and 4/9. If I combine those together, if I add 5/9 and 4/9, I'm going to get 9/9. And 9/9 will equal a whole. See? 5 plus 4 is 9, then the 9 stays as my denominator, and that's going to equal a whole. And I'm going to add that whole to the 12 here and get 13. 13 plus 3 is 16. Now here I have a decimal, and I want to talk about this almost like it's dollars and cents, because if I do that, I think you'll be able to make a good mental comparison here. Instead of 7 and 45/100, I'm going to say $7.45. And I'm going to add to that $13.55. Right off, my number sense tells me that if I have 45 cents and 55 cents, I have what? I have $1. I have $1. 45 cents and 55 cents equals $1. So I can take that dollar and add it on to, we'll say 13 and get 14. So here I would have 14 plus 7 is 21. You all agree with me so far?
Yes.
Okay. Then 21/16, that's going to be 37. And I was able to do that very quickly, and I was able to do that and get the same sum when I'll show you here in just a minute. I was able to do that very quickly because of the associative property of addition. Now, here comes the part that could take 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes. I'm going to move this little post-it aside, and I'm going to put another one here, and I'm going to try to work it out, and I'm not going to work it out the whole way, because really, this problem, it takes time, and I don't want to take the time to do that, so I'll show you how you can struggle with this, and then I'm going to use my calculator and show you that actually will wind up being worth 37. let's look at the part in parentheses, because if you do the order of operations, you always evaluate your parentheses first. So if I have 7 and 45 hundredths, and I want to add to that 12 and 4 ninths, I need to come up with, I need to make it either like fractions or like decimals. In this case, I'm going to make them both decimals. So I have 7.45, and now I'm going to convert this to a decimal. I'm going to have 12 here, point, and now this 4 ninths. In order to make that a decimal, and I'm looking around my class, hoping I have a lot of active listeners. Are they looking at the Mondo pad like they should be? Okay, I see some kids working along with me. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to divide my numerator by my denominator. So I'm going to take this 4, and I'm going to divide it by 9. And I can't get any groups of 9 out of 4, so I'm going to put a 0 there. Put me a decimal point. All right. I can get 4 groups of 9 out of 40. Okay, another 0. Once again, I'm going to get 4 here, and it's going to continue on and on and on and on and on infinity. So that's going to be a big problem there. So maybe instead of doing a decimal, maybe I'm going to have to convert that 7 and 45 hundredths into a fraction. But you can already see it's going to take a lot of time to do it that way. But let's see. I've got my calculator. And I just want to double check. I always want to double check these things. If I have 4 and I divide it by 9, it does go on forever. So I'm just going to go ahead and plug in everything in my calculator and see if I wind up with 37. Okay. Let me adjust the lighting in the room for a second. I don't know if that helped or not. With our calculators, and all my students, they have a Texas Instruments T15. If they want to follow along and punch these in the same as I do, it might save you a few minutes when you take your state testing, if you can go ahead and plug these all in. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to press the 3 key. I press the 3, and then we have this button here that says unit. I'm going to hit unit, and now it's got 3 as the whole for my mixed numbers. And then I'm going to press 5. I'm going to press the N button, because that 5, there's my N button, it's my numerator. And then I'm going to go ahead and press the 9. And now I have 3 and 5 ninths. So I'm going to go ahead and hit plus. And now I need those parentheses. So I see here, right above the numbers, I have a parenthesis. I'm going to press it, and check that out. I got my parenthesis. And now I'm going to put 7.45 plus, and I'm going to hit 12. I'm going to hit unit. And now I'm going to put 4 and hit the N for numerator. And now I'm going to put 9 for my denominator. And then I'm going to put close parentheses. See, I press that button there and close parentheses. Now I can add to that, hit plus. I'm going to add 13 to 5,500.
Typically, there will be cheer practice today from 3 until 4 in the gym.
And when I hit enter, sure enough, I got set 37. I got 37. Now, it probably, if I was working by myself, it probably would have taken longer just about to key in those values on my calculator than to use my associative property of addition to get 37. All right. So that is how I would have completed item number 10. I used my associative property of addition. I simplified the expression, showing that they do have identical results. And I used my calculator out of my math toolkit. How many of you, dear students, got 37 for your answer? How many of you also agree that you use the associative property of addition? Okay, I'm seeing hands all over. How many of you see the benefit of using the associative property of addition, especially when you're adding mixed numbers and fractions together? That's great. That's great. Now, based on our rubric, SFA PTM rubric for random reporter, what grade do I deserve for the work I did? All right, Wyatt. Yes, 100. I gave my math practice, I showed my process, and I had a correct answer.